Welcome to Podcast Awesome, where we chat about icons, design, tech, business, and nerdery with members of the Font Awesome team. And I'm your host, Matt Johnson. In this episode, I'm sitting down with Lindsay and Cory, two of the driving forces behind the official release of Web Awesome. And in this chat, we get deep into what it takes to ship something ambitious, powerful, and let's be honest, downright delightful, from custom theming and production ready patterns to the magic behind our Figma files and future stretch goals. They dish out insights on design systems, prototyping with real code, and how we're bridging the gap between designers and developers without summoning any ancient HTML curses. All right, let's get into it with Lindsay and Cory. Well, Cory and Lindsay, congratulations for launching Web Awesome. It's been a while now. You guys have been working hard, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Do you feel a sense of relief, or do you still feel like you got a fire under you? How's it going?
Oh man, I think there's always more to do. There's a bit of a sense of relief, but there's also some anticipation of what's to come. Like there's still more that we want to build.
It doesn't feel like our work's done. Like it's not like we launched and it's like, okay, we can sit back and breathe for a second, because we have so many like inputs from the community, so many ways that people can talk to us directly, that you kind of feel that sense of urgency still, because so many people want so many different things. So it's not like you can just sit back and enjoy what you've released. It's like there's still plenty more to do here. So it's fun, but it's definitely still work.
Yep, 100%. Well, it looks beautiful. Congratulations. We've got some pretty awesome features you guys have shipped, and some stuff that's coming up as well, that you have plans for. So can you tell us a little bit about the theme builder? Theme builder super slick. How did you approach making that powerful and approachable?
Well, really with theming, CSS custom properties do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. Like any theme has that as its base. But CSS itself, I feel like, is very unapproachable for a lot of people. Regardless of how good of a developer you are, like CSS can feel a little bit scary to a lot of folks, I think. So the idea with the theme builder is basically to take all of the power of those CSS custom properties that we have under the hood and build essentially just a GUI around them, like bring an interface to that code so that people can instead make like more human readable selections for the things that they want, instead of having to worry about getting into the CSS directly. So our approach there is really just to start high level and drill down. So right now, the theme builder is primarily just high level concepts. Like you can pick what theme you want to start with that we've already built for you. And then from there, you can change things like your brand color. You can change the specific hues and saturation of the color palette that is determining what all of those colors look like on screen. And then, any number of things, from what icon family you're using, what kind of shape your elements have, how round they are, what the spacing looks like, border width, that kind of thing. So it's still very high level right now. So our next step is to kind of drill down so that more of the custom properties that we have in a theme that we support with the manual, like theming API, are now in that interface with the rest of it. So there's still plenty to do there, but it's one of my favorite pieces of the software. So I'm really excited whenever we get a chance to dig back into it and add some more stuff there.
So the pattern library power up and copy and paste patterns that are actually production ready is pretty great. Can you talk to me about what makes them work in the real world?
It's the same story with components and patterns, really. Components are so useful because we tend to reinvent the wheel when we want to do something at the atomic level. So when you want a specific look and feel for buttons or inputs or whatever the case may be, there's just been a history on the web is every developer re-implements what they want every single time. So we solve that story with components, or we have a story there for components. And pattern, like entire sections of web pages, are really the same kind of problem, where we tend to especially as designers, more so than developers in this case, we just tend to re-implement the same thing or redesign the same thing when really the solution's already there for us somewhere else on the web. Somebody has solved this problem before. We really don't need to look too hard to find a solution. So that's what patterns do. It just says, we've seen this problem solved before. Let's just bring that into code. You can copy and paste it, make any tweaks for your specific project that you need to, and you just have to, or you can just roll with it from there. One of my favorite, I guess, UX laws is, I'm sure, something a lot of designers are familiar with, but there's an element of what's called Jacob's law at play here, which is something from the Nielsen Norman Group, which basically says that we like sites that work the same way as other sites we use. And that's what patterns are. It's just, this works. Right. Go ahead and use it. You don't need to be too original about things that are already proven to be good for users and are working well. Checkout forms is a big one that comes to mind for me. If I go to a site and I am put into a checkout flow that doesn't look like the same checkout flow that I'm used to seeing on every other website, I'm going to start to feel very uncomfortable with that. Right. And I'm sure for some companies that can impact sales and what you're actually getting from users, they might be too scared by that and give up. But patterns are just, again, that way of saying, we've seen this problem solved before. Here are a few options that we've seen have success throughout the web, and you can just copy and paste them into your own site and adjust them as necessary.
Mm-hmm. Just out of my own curiosity, because this is not my world, but it's always interesting when you think about usability and design that helps people understand what's going on, what comes next. How do you think about balancing doing something surprising and interesting while also giving a user what it is that they're expecting so they're not confused? You know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, that's generally something where you care about function over form is the typical phrase that you hear to describe that. Worry about what it's supposed to do first. And then any of the extra flavor or color or whatever you want to call it gets considered after the fact. So how to make it interesting. There's plenty of ways you can do that with any piece of UI, but still keep the functionality familiar, like still not surprise people with what this thing is actually doing, what you're asking for from the user, but adding a bit of more interesting pieces around that is how you can set yourself apart, in my opinion.
Yeah. You don't want the wrong kind of surprise. you want delightful surprise and hopefully a seamless experience, you know?
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Well, the Figma file's out there now. How's it going? What feedback are you hoping for from folks?
Figma is clearly very important to a lot of organizations. It's an important tool that designers and developers both kind of rely on to be that bridge between what this looks like and how it's actually implemented. So it's probably one of the things we've heard most from backers as far as our stretch goals from the Kickstarter go, of what's most important to them, what they're most excited about. Notwithstanding the components, because obviously people were excited about that, but we've definitely had a surprise. I was personally surprised at the number of people that were like, okay, where's the Figma file? So the feedback that we would be looking for in regards to the current version of the Figma file we have is we want people to tell us how it fits into their workflow, if it's not fitting into their workflow, if we're leaving something out that could better support how they design and develop in Figma. Mm-hmm. And if we're leaving that on the table, we don't want to, obviously. There's some limitations with how much you can do in Figma, of course. We just want to make sure that we're not leaving something out that people actually need. So that's the feedback we would want at this point.
It's still a work in progress. Lindsay's done an amazing job getting it to where it is, but it's sort of like startup strategy, MVP. Let's get something out there. Let's get people touching it, using it. Where are the rough edges? And then we can circle back. It would be really bad for us to create the entire file and then just miss the bar because we didn't get that feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Do you guys have a sense of how the Figma file might evolve over time?
Yeah, I mean, the very next step for us would be building out the remaining components, because currently we have about half of the WebAwesome library components in Figma right now. So obviously we got to build the rest of those. So that's our immediate next step. And then beyond that, it would mostly be what tools can we offer to kind of work around the limitations that Figma has. Like right now, because it's a specific file, if you customize that file and somebody is using it in their products, design their products, and then we release a new file. Currently, your only solution for like theming is to re-implement all of those customizations you did the first time in this new version of the file. That's not ideal, obviously. Like as a designer, I feel that pain. Like I've worked in organizations where you have to have management and specific people expect something that looks like the end result from Figma or whatever prototyping tool you're using. And that's just a barrier to entry that we would prefer not to have. So at some point, starting to explore how we might be able to use Figma plugins, not just like specific Figma files, but actually a plugin to make theming a little bit easier. So that now every time when you get a new version of the file, you can just run that plugin. It applies your theme to everything and you're good to go again. And then another thing we've been wanting to explore, and this might be a little bit further in the future than even the plugin, would be Code Connect. It's I believe still in beta Figma feature that basically allows you to map the components that you have in Figma with actual like custom elements or HTML elements, whatever you happen to use. In our case, obviously for Web Awesome, would be custom elements, and make it a lot easier to bring that into development. So those are the two big things that we'd like to explore next.
So we've got some stretch goal components that are out now, and some coming up in the future. Are there some things that you want to highlight there?
Yeah, the 3 pro components that people seem to be excited for the most would be date picker, combo box, and then a data grid. So those are next on the list for us to build out. And in addition to that, we promised 14 free stretch goals through Kickstarter. We smashed through the ceiling of those. And so far we built 4, and we've planned, I believe, 3 more, and the rest are up for votes right now. So folks joining us can check out our GitHub discussions, and there's a feature request section where you can go and see what's there, request features, and vote on them. So that's the best way to kind of let us know what you were looking for next.
Can you talk a little bit about any of the teasers, the 10 remaining stretch goals?
Yeah, the free components for the free stretch goal components. One of them is video. It's our custom video component, and Kelsey's already started work on that. And we actually have a prototype of it already. Toast components, that's actually technically 2 components, but we're going to count it as one for the purpose of these because one of them is not useful without the other. And that is a proper interactive toast component. So we kind of pulled that out from Shoelace. It was an alert component that was what we call call out now in Web Awesome, but it also had toast functionality. And so we've separated that out. So now we have dedicated callouts, and we will soon have dedicated toast components that are accessible, more configurable, and you can just do a lot more with them.
Right on.
And that'll be featured in free.
Excellent.
File input, I think, was another big one that the people seem to be excited about, which I believe that'll be a free component.
That is planned to be free, yeah. File input, good call.
Is there some more stuff that you guys want to highlight or talk about?
I had one more thing I actually wanted to say about Figma.
Yeah, for sure.
Our ultimate end goal for Figma is to no longer need Figma. Sorry, everybody in the audience that feels strongly about that. But it's really a question of why are we prototyping with graphic representations of these components when we could theoretically build a tool that just allows you to prototype with the components directly. So not so much pushing designers out of the code, but bringing them just a step closer to continue to make the bridge even shorter between development and design, so that we're actually making it easier to, I don't know, say drag and drop, Web Awesome components around and pick the attributes that you want through a GUI, and actually be designing interfaces with the components that developers will be implementing the functionality with. So that's obviously a farther future concern for Figma, but as far as the concern of prototyping goes, we would like to bring people even closer to the actual code that's going to be used, extends beyond any sort of Figma library that we might have.
As the Awesomeverse is expanding with Shoelace coming on board and rebranding Web Awesome and 11D and what's to come for that, hopefully we're going to have a whole suite of tools that designers and developers can use that sort of kind of everything you need to build the stuff that you build without having to add all these extra layers and tools that just make it kind of complicated and bloated, So it's really exciting.
Yeah, it is.
So looking into the awesome verse, what are you excited about? And maybe you're just like tunnel vision right now because you're working so hard, at the time of the release and hitting these stretch goals. What would you love to see with Web Awesome in the future?
Just as something I'd be interested in us as a company wondering more about.
No
Getting into that
promises,
W
people.
space.
Just
I'm not
ideas.
promising, yeah.
And we're not
Just
brainstorming,
ideas.
just ideas.
But really excited about the potential, like, synthesis, not to use too corporate of a term, but between 11D and Web Awesome. There's some really cool potential there that I'm very excited for us to explore maybe someday. No promises.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like you were trying so hard not to say synergy that you just ended up with something that sounded a lot like it, but wasn't.
I couldn't get rid of the first 3 letters.
Synergy. So good. Yeah. The conversation a few episodes back with Connor and Zach was great. It was cool to see those guys riff. Connor's talking about how he's using 11D tools and stuff. And there's some pretty exciting stuff going on there.
Shameless plug, but I love using them together. Like one of the things that I started working on with Alex, our security guy at the last Snuggle, and something that I've actually done in my free time because I love to cook and things like that, is creating a recipe template website example for using 11D and Web Awesome together, which it's just so cool to see. Both of those tools, again, I work here, so maybe I'm not the best person to be giving plugs like this, but it just makes me so excited. I work here because I love the product so much. It just makes people like me who years ago really didn't know a whole lot of development or anything, it just makes it so easy to like throw stuff together. Like once you set up that scaffolding, like in the case of this recipe website, getting ingredients and directions and stuff just in plain text basically, and having that just be plugged in automatically to a template and generate pages for you is just such a cool thing to see. So I love 11D and Web Awesome together. They're two great tastes that taste great together, as the saying from our Kickstarter video goes. And
that's right. Yeah, I love that, folks can pretty automatically, like what's one of those tagline words, automagically, they can get something up on the screen that's like, this is okay. Now I can envision what I want to build here. Like I'm at least like halfway where I want to be, and I can see what this is going to be, and like these tools to get people to that place really quick. It's really, really awesome to see.
Well, Matt, that's what we're all about, is trying to give people superpowers, right? To do things in less time. And so we talked about patterns. I think we should probably start talking about full page templates. I think we should do things that remove all the friction and just let people come in and a few things here and there. And next thing you know, you have a whole website. And now maybe you can even generate it with 11D. That'd be cool.
Yep. Oh, it's also 100%. Exciting. I love it. We do have a few like full page templates already in Web Awesome, but just like one, I think only like 2 or 3 at the moment. So expanding that out more just relieves that kind of blank page paralysis that we can get so often as builders for the web. It's like you don't have to, even if it's not exactly what you want, you don't have to start from scratch. It just makes it so much easier to customize when most of the upfront work of that what is termed from an essay I read once in college, a first draft, is already done for you. And they're not crummy, obviously, but just having that first draft out of the way is a huge leg up when you're trying to build something from scratch. It's so cool.
When people also, if they don't have a ton of technical expertise, like instead of having that paralysis of like, I'm not technical enough to do this, I don't know how to do this. Of course, there'll be some learning involved, but it's going to be a lot easier for me to get that first draft up and say, okay, what can I envision now? Like I have a pretty good start of what it is I want to build here. I love projects like this, people that maybe don't have a ton of knowledge, but can get started and headed in the right direction. It's awesome.
I think for people like you out there that aren't super technologically familiar with a lot of how websites are built, there are going to be a lot of fear and hesitation to like give feedback because you feel like it's your fault as a newbie to the space if something isn't working quite how you would expect. But that's some of the most valuable feedback we can get. So just for you and anybody listening that might be in the same boat, like if you're building something from scratch and you've not really ever done that before, we still love to hear what kind of problems you run into. Even if you feel like they're your own, they're likely not. And they're likely stuff that we want to be able to solve in the future anyway. So don't be shy. Speak out.
That's a great reminder, because I think that sometimes when we have this baked in knowledge base, we have a lot of assumptions when we're building that the person that maybe doesn't have that, like, that key bit of knowledge, they're not going to know how to do the problem solving because they don't, the knowledge just isn't there, and it helps to sort of fill in the gaps. So great reminder, folks. If you're hitting snags or whatever, make sure to hit these folks up so that they can make it a more seamless experience. That's a great segue for folks that maybe there's a little bit of turbulence or they're unsure about something. How can they get in touch with you guys and let you know what their experience has been?
There is a community page that gives links to all sorts of things on our doc site, and that includes a Discord, which is not only putting the question out to all of us on the team, but also the entire community. So you might get a faster response or somebody that might be in the same boat. There's also GitHub discussions, which are huge for allowing us to more easily keep track of what people are asking for and how many people that resonates with. That's a huge part of that, because the more people that give their votes to a specific discussion on GitHub, the more likely we are to prioritize that in the future. And then there's also help@webawesome.com or hello@webawesome.com, which are our email inboxes that both of them go to the same group of people, and that's us. You're getting directly in touch with all the people on the team in that case. So that's an option as well.
I'd say that's about a wrap for our conversation with Cory and Lindsay, and why Web Awesome is a game changer for developers and designers, how theming and component libraries they're making our lives easier, and what's coming next with Figma, patterns, templates, and all the goodies from our stretch goals. And don't forget, a subscription to Web Awesome Pro is now 20% off the lifetime of your subscription. So you're going to want to jump in on that deal while you can. And it only lasts until November 19th. So get on that. And head over to webawesome.com for more details. As always, Podcast Awesome is produced and edited by yours truly, Matt Johnson. I get additional video editing help from Isaac Chase. The Podcast Awesome theme song is composed by Ronnie Martin, and the music interstitials were created by Zach Malm. And you know the rest. Go make something awesome.